Hey, what's up, fam? Eden Zero's second volume cover is out for us to see, so it's time to do another volume cover comparison for Hero Mashima's three big works. We got Rave Master Volume 2, Fairy Tail Volume 2, and now Eden Zero Volume 2. So we can go about and see the evolution of Hiro Mashima's art and just kind of see the aspects of it that have altered throughout the years, but also kind of go over and just address of which ones you prefer, which ones you like to look at more than others. So Rave Master Volume 2, obviously the first one. I always really liked the Rave Master logo. I always thought that was a pretty interesting kind of way of presenting the stories, the name, and just one of the first things you're going to see whenever you look at a volume cover is the name of whatever the series is, and then the use of the colorful lights in the background is cool. I actually really like the colors used in this one. The only thing that I really had a problem with this is it doesn't tell you anything about the series at all. Like, if you looked at just the volume cover, you might think it's a music manga or something, some form of party manga, and it's good looking. It's really nice. It's pretty cool in its early days, but at the same time, it's like I said, there's nothing really to come out of it with. If you, because usually when you look at a volume cover, you're able to figure something about the series or figure out something about that arc. Like if you'd been reading the manga for a while, you could look at the cover and say, okay, this something about this is something about this cover should tell me a little bit of the events of what to happen. If you looked at something like, I don't remember exactly which volume. I think it's volume 49. I'll just go with this. You see like a stoic Igneel standing over like a cliffside, and that Igneel has some form of like heavy relevance that arc. Or I don't remember which one it is off the top of my head, but whenever Natsu is like looking at his hands or his hand, and he's like kind of freaked out. We get the whole revelation of who he is and stuff like that. When you can kind of get some form of idea based off of what you see, because the cover a lot of times is just like a little teaser. And we move on to Fairy Tale. I have a little bit of cheat bias towards this cover specifically, because when you look at them, like the cover for the Fairy Tale ones, a lot of the early ones are done in kind of like this worn like I would say like tome paper kind of look, like if it was going to be like an old spell book or something, just kind of the way that the it just kind of presented, and I think it looks really good. But the cover itself, when you see like Natsu, Happy, and Lucy, you don't really get a ton out of it. You don't get much for their character, but the whole use of the original guild building and standing at the doorway, and we know there's it ends up being a bunch of symbolic stuff about the door itself later on. Just kind of it kind of draws more emotion as somebody who's read it and gotten throughout the series. You see it and you're just reminded of those things, and reminded kind of the way that things loop around with the building and just like the walkway entrance to it. And you see like, this is where a lot of the things started. This is where a lot of things will continue. So I try not to have, I try not to have a fairy tale bias because, obviously out of the three of them, it's my favorite one. But luckily I've got a little bit more explanation of this time of why I picked it. Hopefully volume three, maybe I can say something different. And then the Eden Zero volume cover, it looks good. There's not a lot to tell you about the arc other than you're gonna get all these interesting new characters. That's really what kind of happened that arc. You got all these. You're finding really about the main cast, and that's what your Mashima said to kind of go with the layout. It looks nice, like the obviously the more HD and bright color presentation of it is pretty good looking. The thing though that I really liked about it, one actually noticing is when you compare Happy to Happy Bot, Happy Bot is a lot like whiter. He's a lot heavier set for looking at him as he is. But I also really liked the stance Shiki's in this one, because you see like Haru's like at a turntable and you're like you can get relatively nothing out of that, and then Natsu's looking kind of grumpy in his. But I really like the pose Shiki's in. He's got his ether gear on. He's got his cool gravity sphere kind of loading up. And I think it just looks interesting, and you're able to kind of get a little feel more of his character from this bit versus the other two. And that's when you compare them, the most thing I'd say you kind of get out of it. But I think there should have been some usage of Pino and Sibber interacting on this cover, and they're both on there, so you could have had something like her looking at him like in fear or something, and maybe a more menacing look from him and more a little bit more sadistic, or maybe like the mech, maybe the mech instead of him on it. But whatever. All three of them I think are good. It's pretty difficult for a volume cover to be you to look at and be like, wow, this sucks. I've seen bad volume covers, but I don't think any of these are bad. I have a little bit of bias towards the fairy tale one because of the usage of the guild doorway and just kind of like what you get out of that later on in the series. So, but tell me which one you like out of these. And I don't know. I think this is a fun thing. I think this is a fun small thing to do with the covers. But otherwise, yeah, thumbs up the video and like, favorite, subscribe if you like this kind of content. Check out my other videos, I do manga and anime stuff. And if you are already subscribed, I appreciate it. But otherwise, thank you very much. Hope to see you in the Volume 3 comparison when it comes out. But otherwise,